In this video, we will be discussing media censorship and the freedom of expression in Morocco. My name is Sharika.
I'm Tiffany. And I'm Ananya.
To better understand this topic, we were given the opportunity to interact with students at Al Akouain University in Morocco. We conducted a Google Hangout with them and asked a variety of questions related to censorship and social media. The questions touched both on their opinion of censorship in Morocco, as well as what kinds of content are currently censored in the country. Finally, we asked them about their opinions on the freedom of speech and its implications in the U.S. The first thing we'll look at are the facts surrounding censorship in Morocco, and then we'll dive into the virtual exchange. According to the Freedom House report entitled Freedom of the Press 2017, Morocco has had more control over the press in the legal, political, and economic environment than the United States does. However, among the Arab League nations, Morocco's score of 66 overall indicates a relatively liberal approach to censorship. Looking more closely at background facts and statistics regarding censorship in Morocco, we found that the majority of blocked internet sites are often related to the Polisario movement, which is trying to claim the independence of Western Sahara, or Islamic extremist and fundamentalist viewpoints. Additionally, oftentimes non-official or subversive information about the Moroccan monarchy is censored as well. In general, the Moroccan constitution does not handle or provide any procedure regarding online content. This makes it hard for citizens to protect themselves and their opinions from the power of the monarchy. As such, the government tends to retain broad powers to not only censor news content, but also suspend media outlets due to content and also fine or imprison journalists. With this background knowledge about censorship in Morocco, we will now dive into the details of our discussion with the students.
I'll give an example of an association that was shut down just recently. It's called Racine, and it basically broadcasts some videos on YouTube. They bring guests and they start speaking about random subjects, and once they said something not very appropriate about the king, and they were immediately shut down, like 1 week after that, or something like that. I'm not sure. So yeah, this example reminds me of the kind of censorship we have in here.
Regarding what Salma just said, we went back and did a little research on this organization. They are a non-governmental organization that promotes culture and advocates for the freedom of expression in Morocco. The organization stimulates and initiates important dialogues on the freedom of speech. The governor of Casablanca filed a complaint over the online show because it was a satirical discussion of Moroccan news topics. In its judgment handed down on the 26th of December 2018, the court accepted the request for the dissolution of Racine's and the liquidation of its property. Though they were severely hindered by these proceedings, Racine's is still able to operate, and they are in the process of appealing this decision. Next, we will talk specifically about the Moroccan students' opinions on censorship.
In the past, youngsters have often comprised the portion of the Moroccan population who are most vehement in their criticism of censorship and the actions of the government. They had a significant role in the protests of 2011 and 2012, which were primarily organized by a youth movement known as the 20th February movement. Inspired by the numerous uprisings that had taken place in Arab countries during the Arab Spring, these protests occurred from 20th February 2011 to the spring of 2012, and called upon the Moroccan government to initiate political reform, especially with regard to stopping political censorship and removing restrictions imposed upon free speech. We wanted an idea of whether the views of the AUI students reflected these perspectives, so one of the first questions we asked them revolved around what their personal views on censorship were, and whether they viewed censorship in a negative or a positive light. The students were more or less unanimous in their views that censorship was more often detrimental than beneficial for the country. This related especially to restrictions placed on the dissemination of political information, which is subject to the heaviest censorship in Morocco. The students particularly expressed discontent with the heavy caution associated with depicting the current king of Morocco in films and TV shows. However, in the case of social media, they did not seem to personally show too much discontent over restrictions placed on information, explaining that persecution over content shared to online platforms such as Facebook tends only to happen in quote-unquote extreme situations, mostly relating to threats of Islamic extremism. The students did agree, however, that there were a few select situations in which censorship could be allowed. This included scenarios in which information could potentially have harmful effects on the public if made available to it. In addition to this, the students also agreed that certain restrictions should be placed on children's access to information, primarily online information, to ensure that they are not exposed to excessively violent or graphic content. This resonated with our own views on what exceptions may be granted to censorship. However, the students made it clear that outside of these specific scenarios, they viewed censorship as a barrier to free speech.
Next, we will compare Moroccan and US censorship practices.
And we have three main things that shouldn't be
In my personal life.
that should yeah. We have religion and the monarchy and the national integrity.
Morocco and America face strong differences within the freedom to access as well as express opinions of political information. In America, individuals may often express criticism towards the government and current American political structures without facing threats of censorship or persecution. However, in Morocco, individuals are strongly discouraged from voicing negative opinions of the government in any manner. As explained by Salma, there are three pillars that must be addressed with high caution: religion, national duty, and the monarchy. If these topics are in any way depicted in a negative manner, individuals may be subject to persecution, as also shown by the Racine incident mentioned earlier.
In terms of entertainment, one example the Moroccan students gave us on the way TV and radio are censored is the example of sex scenes being completely cut out from movies and TV shows because of their religion. Topics such as the monarchy and the government are also censored. We discussed how in the US we have a rating system to handle these kinds of subjects, but they are not usually cut out completely. Interestingly, these scenes are not cut out in Moroccan cinemas. Another topic we discussed during our virtual conference is social media use and the censorship in Morocco. So, first, some background on social media in Morocco, which is based on past research and the virtual conference. The most used platforms are Facebook and WhatsApp, with YouTube and Instagram also being popular. In terms of censorship on these platforms, most users perform self-censorship out of fear of arrest or other consequences, especially when it comes to the monarchy, religion, human rights, corruption, and policy. Through the conference, we learned that though this fear exists, often the government does not react to every single post. There will more likely be consequences if the post would result in some kind of tangible movement or action. An example being an online movement inspiring some kind of revolution. When we asked the Moroccan students what they thought about Americans being able to basically say anything online, they were actually curious about our views on censorship in America. Our group all agreed that we appreciate the lack of censorship on social media and media in general. However, we also recognize that this freedom has had its consequences, especially in the spreading of radical views. Because we often do not face consequences for what we say online, people with anti Semitic, racist, homophobic, and radical views in general feel emboldened to spread those ideologies and act on them. The use of popular social media platforms to express these views without much effective monitoring has been a big issue in the US. Conversing with the Moroccan students on censorship seemed to showcase to us two opposite ends of a spectrum. One end at which individuals have very limited amount of free speech, and the other end at which individuals could potentially have too much free speech. Lastly, we asked if there is any restriction they wish did not exist, or rather, if there was any access they wish they had. Most of the Moroccan students agreed that they would want to be able to express their opinion on certain laws, policies, and aspects of their culture. Some examples of this included like apostasy, the harsh laws on homosexuality, and just in general laws they disagree with or want changed. Overall, this experience has been informative, but we did notice some limitations in our findings. The students we interacted with likely came from similar backgrounds and socioeconomic levels. As they were college students who did not seem keen on expressing extreme political or economic views, they were not completely familiar with the range of potential censorship in Morocco. Similarly, students may not have felt empowered to be specific in our conversations or elaborate on the situation.
We are able to conclude, however, that the Moroccan students were overwhelmingly against censorship. We also learned that people in Morocco often do not face consequences for what they say online unless it may result in serious actions. In this case, Moroccans may face significant repercussions. As laws in Morocco do not currently address online platforms, we feel that this is the next major step for the country.
Overall, the virtual exchange was very informative and interesting. We were able to hear real examples to support the research we have conducted on media censorship and freedom of expression in Morocco. The exchange was a unique experience, and we had a lot of fun talking to students just like us in Morocco. Thank you.